I've always been a car guy. The kind who can look at a rusted hunk of metal and imagine it roaring to life again. My father passed down that passion to me. We rebuilt cars together, greasy hands and loud laughter. After he died, restoring classics became my way of keeping a piece of him alive. And the day I found the neglected Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud at an old barn auction, I knew it was fate. The car was in terrible shape. The original white paint was peeling in long strips, chrome pitted from years of rot, and the wheels looked like they were begging for mercy. Some people saw junk. I saw history, dignity, potential. My father loved Rolls-Royce. He always said, only the finest metal gets the finest treatment. I couldn't resist, so I brought it home. That was my first mistake, at least according to my neighbor, the self-appointed queen of the block, our infamous HOA Karen. Her real name is Margaret, but everything about her screams Karen. The rigid blonde bob haircut, oversized sunglasses covering judgmental eyes, and that permanent expression of outrage, as if breathing the same air as other humans is a personal attack. The moment the tow truck lowered the Rolls-Royce onto my driveway, she came storming out like I had lit her lawn on fire. "What is that?" she shrieked, pointing as though the car were a wild animal. "A classic," I replied proudly. "A 1965 Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud. I'll be restoring it in my garage." She folded her arms so tightly I thought her elbows might fuse together. "You can't park scrap metal on the street. It violates HOA policy." Here we go, I thought. "It's not staying outside," I explained patiently. "Just rolling it into the garage." But Karen was already dialing someone on speed dial, HOA president, I assumed. "You people move in and just ruin the property values," she muttered loud enough for half the neighborhood to hear. I wanted to laugh. This neighborhood was nice, sure, but not multimillionaire fancy. And she was all about property value. Please. I spent the next week clearing space in my garage, ordering parts, buying tools. Restoring a Rolls-Royce doesn't happen overnight. Occasionally I'd push the car out for extra space or better light, but always kept it tidy. Every time I did, though, Karen acted like the Queen of England had been replaced by a trash can. One morning, I heard knocking, no, hammering, on my front door. I opened it and found Karen with one hand on her hip and a clipboard in the other, like she was preparing to evict me from my own home. "I've already sent photos to the HOA," she declared triumphantly. "Storing a non-operational vehicle in plain sight is against code." "It's not stored," I replied calmly. "I'm working on it." She leaned forward, squinting like she expected to catch me lying. "What's wrong with it? Doesn't even start, does it?" I shrugged. "That's the point of restoration." "Well," she sniffed, "I'm giving you a week. After that, we'll have it removed." "Try it," I thought but didn't say aloud. Over the next month, the restoration became my obsession. I spent long nights sanding panels smooth, locating rare parts abroad, polishing chrome till my fingers ached. It wasn't just a project, it was personal. Every improvement felt like a conversation with my father. While I worked, neighbors stopped by, curious and excited. Everyone except Karen. She stalked past every day, snapping photos on her phone like paparazzi catching a celebrity scandal. One afternoon, I was fitting the new interior leather when she walked up again, nostrils flaring. "You need to be careful," she said in that fake sweet but threatening tone. People talk. When someone has something expensive like that on display, well, let's just say not everyone is friendly in this neighborhood. It took me a second to understand the subtext. Was she implying someone might steal it? Or that she might know someone who would? I didn't respond. She wasn't worth dignifying with an argument. The day the engine roared to life for the first time, I swear, my heart nearly burst. That deep purr, the soul of the Silver Cloud, was back. The entire neighborhood must have heard me cheering. Except Karen. She stood across the street, jaw clenched, palms pressed flat against her hips, like she was angry the car existed at all. "You can't park that here," she yelled again. "I'm not parking," I shouted back. "I'm testing the engine." She stomped away. I smiled. Once the paint job was done, flawless pearl white with black trim, the Rolls looked like royalty. Even the sun seemed to shine a little brighter when it reflected off that polished silver grille. And that was when the trouble really started. The HOA sent notices, fines, threatening letters, all citing nonsense rules about commercial repair and unapproved mechanical work. I appealed, provided documentation, even offered to show progress to prove it wasn't abandoned. Still, they kept coming. I knew exactly who was behind it. One evening, as I wiped down the hood, Karen strutted over with a smug look only she could master. "Well, since you're clearly ignoring multiple written warnings," she announced, "I'll be contacting towing services personally. Tomorrow if needed." I looked up slowly. "You touch this car, and we'll see who ends up in court." For the first time, she hesitated, but only for a moment. "This is community property," she snapped. "Anything left outside is fair game." I stared at her, stunned by how confidently she spouted pure fiction. She marched away before I could respond. But her next move was way beyond anything I expected. Morning sunlight caught the silver cloud perfectly, making it glow like a dream. I stepped outside with my coffee and found Karen leaning against my Rolls-Royce, touching it, smugness radiating off her. "Morning," she said sweetly, too sweetly. "Just taking what rightfully belongs to me." "What did you just say?" My grip tightened around the coffee cup. She patted the hood like a pet. "I have paperwork from the HOA granting me ownership rights. They've determined it has been abandoned and is lowering the value of our street. So congratulations, you restored my Rolls-Royce." My blood went cold. She wasn't joking. She truly believed she now owned my car. I walked toward her slowly, my voice shaking with disbelief and anger. "Move away from it. Now." She stepped back, but the smirk didn't fade even a little. "Make me. I've already arranged for a tow truck. And once it's gone, any attempt to take it back will be considered theft." She thought she had one. That she could take months of my blood, sweat, and memories and claim them as her own. The audacity was unbelievable. I pulled out my phone and began recording. "Say that again," I told her. Karen froze. She didn't expect that. "You're stealing my car," I said loud enough for neighbors emerging from their homes to hear. "And you think the HOA will protect you?" She sputtered, her face turning red then purple. You're harassing me." "Stop recording." The tow truck appeared at the end of the street. She waved her arms excitedly like a conductor leading a parade. "This is happening one way or another," she screeched. Behind me, a few neighbors whispered. One man raised his phone too, recording everything. Karen marched toward the tow truck driver, trying to hand him her papers, the bogus paperwork she printed and signed herself. That was it. I walked straight to my garage, opened the door, and grabbed a folder, my legal documentation, the bill of sale, restoration permits, every official detail stamped and signed. When I returned, Karen and the driver were arguing. He didn't look convinced. I could tell he wasn't eager to tow a luxury vehicle claimed by a random woman with attitude issues. "This car belongs to me," I cut in firmly, "and I have every receipt and title right here." Karen lunged toward the papers like she was going to snatch them out of my hands. The tow driver stepped between us. "Ma'am," he said cautiously to her, "I need to see the registered owner before I touch anything." "That's me," she screamed. "This car was abandoned. He stole it from community property." I stared her dead in the eyes. "You're done." She tried to shout something else, but by then more neighbors were recording, and the driver was backing away, shaking his head. "Nope. Not getting involved in this," he muttered before climbing back into his truck and driving off. Karen turned to me like she wanted to breathe fire. "You'll regret this," she spat. "The HOA will take everything from you." I didn't respond. I just kept recording her meltdown. She stormed away, but she wasn't finished. She never is. That night, as I sat in my living room watching car restoration videos, I heard suspicious sounds outside. Clinking. Footsteps. Whispering. My heart dropped. I peeked through the window and saw 3 people around my Rolls-Royce. One crouched near the door lock with tools, another with a crowbar. Karen was with them, holding a flashlight. I froze. She wasn't going to claim the car legally. She was going to steal it. And I knew from the look in her eyes. This war had only just begun. My fists clenched so hard my knuckles burned. I knew if I charged out there yelling, it could go bad fast. Karen was unpredictable. The other two men, I didn't recognize them, looked sleazy confident, like they'd done this before. I grabbed my phone and hit record again. Evidence. Always evidence. Then, as quietly as I could, I dialed 911. Yes, I whispered. I'd like to report an active attempted vehicle theft. I have video. They are trying to break into my Rolls-Royce. Addresses. The dispatcher assured me officers were en route. But Karen must have noticed movement in my window, because she hissed, "Hurry up. He's awake." The guy with the crowbar jammed it under the door handle. The lock squealed. My heart dropped, 1 inch deeper, and months of restoration would be torn apart. Adrenaline took over. I stormed outside, flashlight in one hand, phone recording in the other. "You're all going to jail," I shouted. The men jumped. Karen spun toward me wild-eyed. "He's harassing us," she immediately screeched, her favorite battle cry. The guy with the tools froze, then bolted toward the street. The others followed. Karen stumbled after them but turned long enough to bark back, "You can't prove anything. That car is mine." But I could. I had everything on film, break-in attempt, crowbar, her directing them. Police sirens wailed in the distance. The thieves vanished into the night. Karen, unfortunately, did not make it far. 2 patrol cruisers arrived within seconds. Officers stepped out, hands ready, serious expressions on their faces. "Sir, you made the call?" one asked. I nodded, showed them my footage, and pointed to the tools left behind. The men had dropped a lockpick set and the crowbar right by the car. Karen came marching back as if she owned the police, waving her HOA papers like they were the Constitution. "Arrest him. That's my Rolls-Royce. He's been storing trash on this street for months." The officers stared at her like she had 3 heads. "Ma'am," the officer replied, "the registration on this vehicle. Does it have your name on it?" She thrust the paper into his arm. He skimmed it. "This is an HOA citation. This doesn't prove ownership of anything." "It does," she insisted. "Community property laws." "There's no such law," he cut in. "Not for personal vehicles." Karen's face twisted in a meltdown cocktail of rage and humiliation. Another officer watched the video I'd recorded. The part where Karen directed the break-in was crystal clear. Her voice screaming, "Hurry up. He's awake." Captured in perfect HD audio. "Ma'am, turn around and place your hands behind your back." Karen erupted into banshee mode, shrieking, "You can't do this to me. I'm on the HOA board. I have power. I am the Homeowners Association." She flailed so aggressively they had to call in a 3rd officer. Neighbors peeked through blinds, some outright standing outside filming. One of them even clapped. The moment those handcuffs clicked, I felt the weight of a year's worth of stress fall off my shoulders. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for attempted grand theft auto, criminal damage to property, and trespassing," the officer announced. "Also conspiracy to commit theft." Karen screamed the whole way into the squad car. The door slammed shut, muffling her noise, the sweetest sound I'd heard in months. The officers took my official statement. One of them walked around the car with a flashlight, checking for damage. There were minor scratches near the door handle, but thankfully nothing serious. "Looks like you caught them just in time," he said. "Nice work with the photos and evidence. This case will stick." When they left, I finally sat on my porch steps and exhaled a breath I didn't even know I'd been holding for months. The war was over. In the days that followed, HOA drama exploded. Karen's arrest made her the talk of every mailbox and group chat. The board held an emergency vote and removed her permanently. They even sent me a written apology and waived all those bogus fines. Turns out, taking a classic car hostage isn't exactly good for HOA reputation. At her hearing, I showed up purely for closure. And there she was, hair disheveled, smugness wiped clean off her face. When the judge asked why she thought she had any legal claim to my car, her answer was, "Because he doesn't deserve it." The entire courtroom went silent. The judge leaned back, eyebrows raised. That is not how property law works. Karen ended up with a 2 years probation, a hefty restitution bill for legal fees and damage repairs, a court-ordered community service, a restraining order preventing her from coming near my property, garage, or driveway ever again. She was also banned from the HOA board indefinitely. By the time I drove home, victory tasted sweeter than the fresh leather in my Rolls, which, by the way, was finally ready. The last piece I installed was a tiny silver angel ornament, my late father's old hood ornament from one of his favorite rebuilds. I took the silver cloud on its first real drive through the neighborhood. Windows down, music up. The engine purred smoother than silk. Neighbors waved and cheered. Karen wasn't outside to rage this time. No, she stood behind her blinds, staring like a furious ghost who'd lost the ability to scream. I gave a calm little beep of the horn as I drove by her house. Just a polite reminder that some dreams, especially ones you sweat and bleed for, can't be stolen by anyone. Not even an HOA Karen. And every mile I drove, I could almost hear my dad's voice. Only the finest metal gets the finest treatment. He was right. This car wasn't just restored. It was reclaimed. It was earned. It was mine. Forever.